Earlier last week, the IG revealed that after requesting pertinent records from the Secret Service for a probe into the insurrection, the agency said that text messages from January 5th and 6th had been accidentally erased when the phones were reset as part of a device replacement program.
The Secret Service was supposed to deliver its January 6th text messages to the Select Committee on Tuesday, but the text never made it. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and today I had planned to talk to you all about the contents of those text messages, but I've had to pivot. All good, it's part of the job, but also, where are the texts? Well, we don't know, and it's being reported that it's unlikely that they'll ever be recovered. The Secret Service conveniently did a scheduled routine cleanup on January 27, 2021, which was 21 days after the insurrection at the Capitol, 11 days after Congress first requested communications from that day, and 2 days after the agents were asked to back up their phones. These texts are of particular interest because, for one, Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony at the committee hearing detailed an incident on January 6th when Trump wanted to be taken to the Capitol but was told by the Secret Service that they would instead be taking him to the West Wing.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel, and when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
Another reason why these texts are so crucial to the investigation is because of Mike Pence. On January 6th, Mike Pence was supposed to be escorted away from the Capitol by the Secret Service. Pence outright refused to get into the vehicle, a move that some say is precisely what kept the coup attempt just an attempt. Had Pence gotten into the vehicle, we might have seen things play out very differently than they did. And naturally, questions have arisen as to why Pence didn't trust his security detail and why he knew not to leave the Capitol on January 6th. Now, the National Archive is demanding a report from the Secret Service as to why the messages were deleted and why the directive to back them up to a hard drive was ignored. The agency has 30 days to submit this report, and in the meantime, the committee is exploring its options for recovering the messages. And yes, all of this sounds incredibly fishy. Like maybe the Secret Service is hiding something. Like maybe they were complicit on January 6th. Or at the very least, maybe they were sympathetic or cooperative or just not obstructive during Trump's attempt to overtake the government by unleashing a mob at the Capitol. But let's not jump to conclusions. Instead, let's talk about Tony Ornato. Tony Ornato was a Secret Service member who, in a very strange move, was promoted to Trump's deputy chief of staff. Loyalty over everything, right? Tony Ornato is the guy that Cassidy Hutchinson said under oath had told her about Trump lunging for both the steering wheel and the Secret Service agent who was in the vehicle with him when Trump was told that he would not be taken to the Capitol. Tony Ornato has since denied Hutchinson's claim. He was also the guy that allegedly told Keith Kellogg, Mike Pence's national security advisor, that the vice president would be moved to the Joint Base Andrews during the insurrection at the Capitol. According to Kellogg's account of the conversation, Kellogg told Ornato, quote, "You can't do that, Tony. Leave him where he's at. He's got a job to do. I know you guys too well. You'll fly him to Alaska if you have a chance. Don't do it." He went on to say, quote, "He's going to stay there. If he has to wait there all night, he's going to do it." There, of course, referring to the Capitol, and Pence did in fact stay at the Capitol. Ornato has also denied that that interaction took place. But I should mention this tweet from Kellogg. He tweeted on June 30th, 2022, "Regarding 6 January, and for the record, I was privileged to know USSS Special Agent in Charge Tony Ornato. Like all agents, he was highly professional, circumspect in everyday action, and trusted. I would take his sworn testimony to the bank." So do with that what you will. A former White House aide claims another conversation took place that Ornato denied being a part of regarding press security during a 2020 protest at Lafayette Square. And a different aide said, "The Those of us who worked with Tony know where his loyalties lie. So he's already not a very credible guy. But should Ornato be made to testify in front of the January 6th committee under oath, it would be a very interesting situation in which two witnesses testify under oath to two things that are in complete contradiction to one another. Now, we've got more hearings coming up, hearings that will press on despite the absence of the committee's chairman, who has just recently tested positive for COVID. Now we're in a time when it's difficult to trust anyone or anything. People think that they're above the law. Bannon is still trying to wriggle out of his contempt charge. Trump is still teasing a 2024 presidential run. The Secret Service is deleting evidence, which, by the way, isn't the first time that they've done something like this. But even outside of this particular investigation, there are major trust issues, not just in this country, but around the world. The public seems to be waking up to the fact that many of these organizations and institutions simply cannot be counted on to work in the ways in which they said that they would. No ulterior motives, no insider whatevers, and no corruption. So much of the way we've organized things, not just in this country, but around the world, is reliant on the right people being in the right positions, doing the right things. It's all dependent on a lack of corruption, which is almost impossible to root out entirely, as well as faith in the goodness of humanity. It's really not asking for much, is it? But the inherent flaw in all of this is that power can be and often is the corrupting force. Putting people in positions of power, whether by appointment or election, has the high potential to corrupt any who are less than ironclad in their beliefs, morals, and values. That could mean such egregious corruption as promoting a loyalist Secret Service agent to a deputy chief of staff position ahead of a planned coup. Or it could mean having your husband buy stocks based on the insider congressional info that you gave him, Nancy. Most sane people don't want that kind of power or authority, though it's important to note that having good people on the inside working within the system is just as important as having people working outside of it, and the GOP knows this. Thankfully now, we're starting to see more progressives running for office on the grounds that they believe that they can actually make a difference with their work. It's not a job that I would ever want personally, but I do this. We need people from all walks of life with all sorts of talents and passions and expertise contributing to society in such ways that the collective effort elevates the entire population, not just a select few who are already elevated far above the rest of us in terms of money and privilege. Can we get to a better place by working together? I like to think so, but mainly because I'm not sure what this country or planet will look like in a few years if we don't. That's it for me. Like this video if you liked it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Also, follow me over on Instagram and TikTok, and thank you so much for being here.